Buenas tardes, mis amigos, y benedicciones para todos ustedes. Welcome, my friends, and blessings to you all. Welcome to my channel if you are new here, and welcome back if we are already old friends. For those of you who do not know me yet, 4 months ago, I quit my job. My family and I packed up our 3 kids, our 3 cats, 12 suitcases, and approximately 4,000 kilograms of our household belongings in a shipping container, and we left Canada behind. We took a huge leap of faith and we moved our family to El Salvador. We've been living in El Salvador now for 4 months. Wow, that's a third of a year. Time goes by so fast. I thought I'd give you an update on our living situation and our expenses. In this video, let me share with you our journey, what we've learned, what we love, and what are still some challenges we have in this beautiful country. One of the first things that we noticed about being in El Salvador was how warm and welcoming all the people were. Very, very friendly people here. And that definitely hasn't changed. A few weeks ago, one of my cats got really hurt, and it looked like it was just a couple of scratches on his leg, and he had like the fur was there, kind of matted with blood and whatever, and I cleaned it all up, and it looked like there was just some scratches. And then that was on Monday, and Saturday, my son looks over at the cat and says, "Oh, I didn't know his leg hurt like that." And I looked and it was a big gaping hole. All that fur that had the scab was completely off. And it was a gaping hole that had this yucky stuff inside it. So I cleaned it up, and this was Saturday night, so I wasn't sure what to do Saturday night. So I talked to my friend, and she mentioned a vet that she had seen, but again, tomorrow was going to be Sunday, and I didn't know when they were going to be open. So I talked to her about the options of Chivo Pets, and she had a bad experience there, and I've heard of other people having bad experiences there, and I was a little apprehensive about going there. But, Sunday morning we had to get him treated, and that was the only place that was open. So my daughter and I got in an Uber, and we drove out there, and we were treated so well. And what they did on that first visit, they gave him a shot of antibiotics. They packed his wound and they wrapped it, which wasn't really great for a cat. It had like the sticky animal wrapping that they put on. But because it was sort of half on his thigh, and she wrapped his whole leg and some of his back, and it came undone very, very quickly. It wasn't very successful, that. They gave me oral antibiotics and some painkillers for him to take home. And that visit, I'll talk about the price later, but the visits were very inexpensive. We had to come back every 3 days, 3 more times. So 3 days later, I came back with him, and he does not like the carrier. And we had to get a cone for him. So what we had to do, because Sunday when we came home, there was nothing open, we called around some vets, and a vet actually delivered the cone on the Monday. So he didn't have the cone on Sunday when he first had his leg wrapped. So that wasn't as super successful as we would have liked for that reason. But the cone was $10 and $3 for delivery. And it was really great that this vet came by and dropped it right off to us. We didn't have to go figure out how to get there. $3 for delivery is cheaper than us taking an Uber there and back to pick it up. So that worked out really well. So his dressing was kind of coming undone. I tried to kind of put some paper towel there to kind of keep the opening at least covered and put some other wrapping around it. It wasn't very successful. So when we went back 3 days later, and with his cone on in the carrier, he still was able to move around a lot, and he kind of made the opening look worse anyway. So when we got there, I talked to the vet and I said, maybe we should do some stitches. So he took a little video. He went in to talk to the surgeon, and they agreed that we would stay there for, I think it was like 3 or 4 hours. I think it was 6 hours in total, actually, but he had to be under, and then the surgery, and had to wake up. And so it was several hours later, but he was doing really well. They said that there was a really deep infection in that wound, and they cleaned it all out, and which is really misleading because it didn't look hot or gross on the outside, but it was really deep inside. So I'm really glad that they did the surgery because they cleaned it out more meticulously, and they stitched him closed. Yeah, he had 6 or 7 stitches in his leg, and they didn't have to like keep a bandage or something on it, which was much easier. They gave me some ointment and some more painkillers at that appointment. So I gave him that. So I had to clean his wound twice a day and put this ointment on. It was like an antibiotic cream. And we had to go back 2 days later. So 2 days later we went back, and again he gets so upset in that carrier. He was struggling, and the top and bottom of the stitches in the incision were starting to open up a little bit, and just a little bit of blood was coming out. So when we got there, she gave him a shot of blood clotting medicine, and that was just, to help him, so it would heal faster. And I just told her it's really the struggle of being in the carrier, because he was fine at home. We were supposed to go back on the 14th to get those stitches removed, and I felt it wasn't healed quite enough. And I had this feeling if we get in that carrier again, he's going to struggle and move around, and that's going to open up again, and we're going to be stuck again waiting another so many days. So I actually did not go back on the 14th to get the stitches moved. I didn't go back until the 17th. So we were there in total 4 times. One great thing about Geo Pets is that they're extremely inexpensive. Our first visit there, when they packed the wound, was $5. The second visit where we did the surgery was a little more expensive. It was $6.50. When we went in to review that work, it was $1.50, and that was including the meds. These are all including the meds. And to get the stitches removed, which we didn't have meds for that, but just to get the stitches removed was 50 cents. So for $13.50, we get this cat treated over 4 visits. Now, the catch is that's in Bitcoin. So you don't pay in cash, you have to pay in Bitcoin, which is fine. I think most people in El Salvador have a Bitcoin wallet. And if you don't have a Bitcoin wallet, or you don't have any money in your Bitcoin wallet, they actually have a Chivo bank machine there that you can use to put money. You put cash in and it goes onto your Bitcoin wallet. So you could do that. You could pay that way and then go to the counter and then you just scan the QR code and boom, it comes out of your Bitcoin wallet. Very easy peasy. So I was not disappointed in the care we got at Chivo Pets. I thought they were very professional and their hospital was super clean. Every time I was there was somebody going with a mop cleaning the floor. Could you imagine? A lot of dogs, a lot of cats come in there very stressed out. Some have a few accidents, right? So they're always going with the mop, cleaning everything up. They're cleaning the glass. They're cleaning everything. Very clean, very professional. And there was a lot of staff there. They actually have a very large hospital. I don't have a clue how many staff are there, but it's a very big area. And they have a lot of treatment rooms and the surgery area. Like there's a lot of rooms to do surgeries at the same time. There also is a huge park in the middle to walk your dog or cat, I guess you want to, walk them around. And, they can't get away because it's all glassed in and you have to open the doors to get into the main area. So you could probably put them off leash if you wanted to. And it had like a little doggy exercise area. So it was quite nice if you had your animal there and they were getting bored waiting for whatever, right? So that was good. I was amazed by some people with their animals. One girl had a cat and she just had it up here. And I think, it did have a harness and a leash, but the cat just stayed on her the whole time. My cat's like freaking out in the carrier, like totally stressed out. This cat's just like chills, like look around. It's just, I couldn't believe some of these animals. It's like of any situation at all. People come carrying animals. People come. One girl had a little cart with a cardboard box of puppies in it. When the first visit we had there, she had this cardboard box full of puppies. I don't even know if they were getting like a little health check or something because she went to the emergency and they seemed to go away really fast. So I don't think there was anything wrong with the puppies. But anyway, it was just really interesting. Everyone came there. In fact, I saw how much Salvadorans love their animals by being at Chivo Pets. And there was one lady who was there. And she was clearly upset. She was in the emergency area and she must have lost her pet, I think. She was very upset. She was crying. She was crying, and my heart was going out to her, too. Sorry, I got a little teary there. The main difference between going to El Salvador to get pet care as opposed to Canada is that El Salvador won't bankrupt you. Now, we had a cat in Canada who had a very similar injury, hole in his side, and it was on a Sunday even, and I took him to the emergency vet hospital in Ottawa at the time. And 2 of my kids were with me, and we were all like so upset and crying. And I mean, the wound was bad, and the wound even had maggots in it. It was so disgusting. And when we got there, they said his leg would have to be amputated. It's going to cost you $11,000. Do you have insurance? And they said he was going to die if they didn't amputate the leg. This was actually Lawrence's cat, and he was not with us at the time. So we didn't want to make any decisions like that. And if he was going to die, I could not afford $11,000. If he was going to die, they gave me some painkillers. I thought, okay, we'll go home. Lawrence will say goodbye to him and he'll just pass away. Well, it was a lie. He didn't die. And as a matter of fact, we actually took him to our vet, who was absolutely awful, horrible human beings. I went there for a visit, and then I decided to go back to our old vet when we took our puppies to. They told us in the end there was nothing wrong with his leg, because we saw him getting better for the whole week. This is over a whole week. We had 3 appointments over the week, and we saw him getting better over the week. But what happened was his belly was blowing up, and we didn't know why. So we went to our vet. She said that his urethra had scar tissue on it, and he could never pee on his own again. He would need a colostomy bag. So obviously that's not a life for a cat. We ended up having to put him down. But each of those visits was over $500. Before we came to El Salvador, I had to get, my 3 cats had to have their original vaccines, then their booster, and then a 10-day pre-trip checkup. And each of those visits for the 3 cats was $500-ish. So about $1,500 just to be able to get my cats to the point of getting on the airplane. In Canada and the United States, veterinary care is super duper expensive. And this is why we have insurance for pets in Canada. We don't even have people insurance like this because it's under the social healthcare system where it comes out of our taxes. But we do have it for pets because veterinary care can be super expensive. And in a country like El Salvador where there's so many stray cats and dogs, if people, the Good Samaritans want to help out and bring them in to get them neutered or get them some vaccines or get them some treatment if they've been in a fight or a car accident, it would break people if we didn't have something like Chivo Pets in El Salvador. So this is what's really amazing about this country. They really care about their animals. In fact, there are laws on the books in El Salvador that if you hurt animals, you will go to jail. So they're very serious about taking care of their pets here. And it was very obvious to me when I was at Chivo Pets. So I told you that the total cost of the veterinary care was $13.50 we had to pay for in Bitcoin. The most expensive part of all that was the Ubers. To get back and forth. The first Uber was $9.87 there, $8.05 back. Next one, $10 there, $11.16 back. Next one, $9.94 there, $12.07 back. Next one, $10.33 there, $11.02 back, for a total of $82.44 for Ubers and $13.50 for the vet care. So under $100, like $95-ish. Yeah. We had 4 vet visits, surgery, medication, the whole bit. Like, you can't go wrong with those kind of prices. I think that's very reasonable. We're also celebrating our first Salvadorian Canadian family. Our beautiful black kitty cat, who we named Black Beauty, gave birth to 4 beautiful little kittens. Now, unfortunately, one of them passed away right away. It actually had very crippled up back legs, and it didn't look like it was well formed, and it stopped breathing shortly after it was born, unfortunately. But we have 3 beautiful little kitties that came from her, and a neighboring orange tabby stud cat who was Salvadoran raised. I think he even spoke a little sweet talk in Spanish to her. The last time I gave you the summary of our bills, it was a bit of the Airbnb stay and a bit of our rental unit stay, because we moved here August 20th, and that video was up until November 20th. So that was the first 3 months, and part of that time was in the Airbnb until September 28th, I think, and the other part was in our rental property. So now I have the bills 100% for the last month from November 20th to December 20th of being in our rental property. So I'm going to go over those bills with you now. So our rent in our rental property is $600 per month. That includes a $35 security fee. Our water bill from ANDA was $2.39. Our electric bill from the AES, which I don't know what it stands for, I can't remember, was $79.95. Our internet bill from Tigo is $32.98. I did look it up. It actually is $32.98, even though their website doesn't have that rate right now. Our cell phones, that's for 5 cell phones. That's a $12 package for me, a $12 package for GJ, and 3 $2 packages for the kids over the last month. That was $30. Our groceries, so we did not have a Price Mart trip between November 20th and December 20th. We had a big meat order in that grocery order too. So that was $449.76. Our eating out expenses was $254. Our entertainment was $371.55. Our household goods, which is my first order of TMU and some Christmas stuff, was $116.23. And transportation is $149.57. No medical expenses for me, and for the pets it was $13.50 for Grievous treatment, for a total of $2,099.93, so almost $2,100. I converted everything to US dollars to make the calculations easier. So it might not have been exactly that because of the different exchange rates at the time. So this month is a little more expensive. There's a couple of reasons for that. This month I had those 4 trips to Chivo Pets. So that was extra Ubers, like the $82 of Ubers I would have not have spent had we not had to do that, as well as the pet care itself, the $13.50. And I forgot to mention last month that I have a few subscriptions. I have a subscription to a website that I use for my news, and I have Netflix, and I have Amazon. And I actually reduced my Netflix down, and I got the El Salvador rate now. My mom and I share that, so I wanted to make sure that she wasn't having any issues, because when I had the Netflix in Canada, I didn't have her as an extra person, and I had paid $25 a month without her as an extra person, and Netflix was giving her this harassing message on her screen that it looks like she's not part of the household. So this time I went with the El Salvadorian rates. I think it's for 2 devices, and then I added her as an extra person so she wouldn't be harassed by Netflix anymore, and that went down from 25 Canadian to 11.50 American, whatever that turns into, but it's cheaper anyway. And Amazon Prime just did our renewal for the year. It was like $111 Canadian, whatever that is American, and that's just a once-a-year fee. And I kept that going because, again, my mom and I share this, and if she wants me to order something from Amazon for her, I'll still do that. She'll get free delivery, as well as I have Amazon Music, and I have an unlimited on that, so there's a fee for that once a month. And there's a channel that my dad subscribes to that's on there. So those are just extra things that if you live here, you don't have to have those things. That's just me, my personal situation. Maybe that'll change over time. I don't know. Right now, we don't even have a TV to watch Netflix on. I have to use my computer, and I don't have my Fire Stick hooked up to anything because I don't have the TV yet. So I haven't really been using as much as, I probably would have been if we were in Canada. Our eating out budget was probably a little higher this month because I had those 4 trips in to look after my cat, and sometimes I would get home late and we would just order pizza or something. So that's why that eating out budget was a little bit higher probably this month, and maybe the groceries were a little lower this month because, we were eating out a little bit more. And I finally got all my budget spreadsheets all done up really nicely in the Google Sheets I'm using, and I have all my formulas in place now to make it easy to summarize these things. So I'll be able to give you really accurate updates every month now because I've done it that way. It's made it much easier. I just put my receipts in and it summarizes everything in all the different categories. So in contrast, we spent more in Canada this month than we did here in El Salvador because we have our mortgage, we have our gas bill, we have our electric bill, and we have our insurance on our house and our cars, which are still there. That was more than the $2,000 American, and it's for an empty house that nobody's living in. These are just bills that come in. Like I said before, we have a hot water, air conditioner, and furnace rental. That's $238 a month just for the rentals without including the gas. So that's just for nothing, just to have them in the house. So it can be quite expensive living in Canada, even in an empty house. This is what's going to cost us. Lifestyle. Nobody does Christmas like El Salvador. That's a fact. We're going to San Salvador on Sunday evening to look at the lights there and the whole town square between the library and the legislative building and the cathedral. I've already seen pictures on people's videos and it's like, wow. Like, wow. We did visit the El Café Talent Park last weekend, and it looks like they were getting the carnival rides sort of ready. They were sort of building some of them, looked like. So none of us were up and running when we were there. So I'm betting if we were to pop by this weekend or next weekend after Christmas, I bet there'd be a lot more stuff for the kids to do because we saw bumper cars and this swinging ship and like all kinds of different rides that they were building. So that looked like a lot of fun. So this is what I'm told to expect for Christmas Eve. Now, there's different customs in every country, different customs in every culture, and this is what I've been told to expect for El Salvador. So on Christmas Eve, the ladies at home, they get up really early and they start the food preparation for the day. Now, in Canada, we would normally say like turkey mashed potatoes, parschmitz, as my grandfather would say. Yeah, we would start that. So in El Salvador, their main meal is a chicken sandwich. So I don't know if this means they're roasting the chickens, maybe they're baking the bread even. And there's also a sauce. I think it's a tomato-based sauce. So maybe they're making the sauce too. So they're getting all that ready in the morning. And then they clean the house till it's like sparkling clean. And then they go and they take a nap. They have a little siesta in the afternoon. Somewhere around, sort of like 5, 7, 9 o'clock at night, whatever, the family shows up and they start eating the sandwiches and having some festivities. Around 11 o'clock at night, everyone is outside on the street and it's street party time. At exactly midnight, fireworks start going off, like in a fireworks display that you can never possibly ever imagine because everyone here has fireworks. Fireworks are not regulated in this country. There are fireworks going off here all the time, any day of the week, for no good reason at all. I can only imagine what it's going to be like on Christmas Eve when everyone's doing it at the same time on purpose. And I hear they do them in our complex here too. Like this is a gated community we have. It's just, I can see the house across the street. It must be about 12 feet away to their door. So I don't know if people are lighting the fireworks up in the street in front of the houses or where they're doing them, maybe in the soccer field. It's going to be really fun, exciting, and I think it's a little bit loud. Maybe a lot loud, actually. And those fireworks can go off until like 3 a.m. And nobody goes to bed until probably 3 a.m. after they've already opened their Christmas presents. So it is a whirlwind of Christmas Eve. In contrast to that with Canada or North America, I'll say, is that normally we send the kids to bed early so that Santa can fly overhead and drop off all the presents. Well, Santa can't fly overhead here, as Jenny Airy said. He'd be shot out of the sky with the fireworks. So Santa doesn't come to Latin America until after 3 a.m. We discovered a really good pupuseria that's nearby. And every time we do an order, we do an order of about 30 pupusas. Now, my husband likes beans, so we have the revueltas, the pupusas with everything including the beans. We get a bunch for him, 20 of those. And then we get 10 of them that don't have beans for us. And it doesn't make any sense, right? My husband gets 20 pupusas and the other 4 of us get 10. I'm not sure that makes any sense. But okay, so the night we order the 30 pupusas, we have a really good feed on pupusas. And then what we have discovered is that you could freeze the pupusas and then you just heat them up in the microwave, or you defrost them a little bit first, heat them up in the microwave, and they're just as good as when you got them fresh. So that's what we've been doing. That's our little hack. We get a really big order of pupusas. Yeah, you can have pupusas for breakfast or dinner, whatever you want. It's already made and ready. And they give you little bags with their curtido and salsa. So we opened all the little bags of curtido and we put them in an empty peanut jug we had. And I even added a little bit more vinegar to make sure it stays all nice and fresh. I did put it in the fridge. I guess maybe I could have left it on the counter because it's fermented. But I put it in the fridge to get out of the way. And then the little bag bags of salsa. I had an empty squeeze bottle. We had bought these 2 squeeze bottles because the mayonnaise comes in a bag. And that's really frustrating to use if it's been opened, and what do? Clip it and put it in the fridge, it just flops over. So we have a squeeze bottle like you get like for ketchup and mustard normally. We get those for mayonnaise, and I had an extra one, and I put all the salsa in that. So now we have our own pupusas from the freezer. We just take the little curtido jug out, put a little bit of that on, and then I squeeze a little bit of the salsa on, and then just put those back in the fridge. It's perfect. So we had some friends over the other day to celebrate GJ's birthday, and they brought a cake and some candles. And I discovered that the candles in El Salvador burn way faster than the candles do in Canada. It's not like we've never celebrated a birthday party before. Hello, I'm 50 years old. We've been through a few birthday parties, 3 kids and the 2 of us, right? I know how candles work. It's not like I don't understand the concept. I put all the candles in the cake, and then I tried with the lighter to light one, and I thought I'd pick it up and then light the other ones. Well, it was dripping wax everywhere. It was burning so fast, and it wasn't even quickly lighting the other candles on fire. So then I used the lighter to light more on fire, and then I noticed the first candles were almost burned down to nothing. I'm like, oh my goodness, okay, I can't even light the rest of the candles. I brought the cake out to the table. We were singing happy birthday, and I thought I was going to need a fire extinguisher. The ones who weren't on fire decided to light up. The whole top of the cake was ablaze, and the candles were burning down to like almost nothing. And when we finally blew them out, the frosting on the top of the cake was burnt. It was like, wow. Okay, note to self. Next time lighting candles in El Salvador, put the candles in the freezer first. I think that'll slow the burn. But it was very funny. I thought we were going to need a fire extinguisher to put that cake out. I'd never seen a blaze. I mean, my husband's old and everything. There's a lot of candles, but I've never seen a blaze like that on a birthday cake before. And it was delicious cake too. The other food I got to try this month was papaya. We actually found somebody to do our grass. Thank you, Wendy, for the contact. And he came out and he cut our grass for us. And he didn't have a ladder to get more papayas down, but there was one papaya that had fallen. And I said, how do you eat papaya? I don't even know how to deal with it. So he took his machete and he put stripes down the side of the papaya just to indent the skin a little bit. And he cut the top and bottom off, and he laid it in the tree, actually, in the sun. He said, leave it there till this afternoon, then bring it in the house, and when it turns yellow, then it's ripe. So I did that. It turned yellow. I started cutting it up and eating it. I tried to put the papaya in a Ziploc bag where I'd opened the end of it. That was not good because it started to go moldy very fast. So I cut all the bad stuff off, chopped it all up, and put the rest in the freezer to make smoothies with. So I have a whole bunch of papayas out there. All we need now is our ladder from the shipping container to get the papayas down, and I could do that with all of them. Oh, and the other thing I found out was the tree that we have in our backyard that looks like a cotton tree is a cotton tree. I actually thought they were bushes. This is like a tree taller than me, and I might need a spinning wheel to deal with all this cotton. Now, safety and security I talked about quite a bit in the first video from our 3-month review here, so you can always go back and watch that. But I'll let you know, my daughter and I went out alone in an Uber to go to a craft day that my friend Hannah had on for Christmas crafts, and we went alone there, and then on the way back, actually, Hannah came back with us with her son. But I had no issues feeling insecure with me, my daughter alone. We went to Chivo Pets alone that day in the Uber. I had no issues. And then I did the other 3 visits to Chivo Pets myself alone. I had no issues. As a matter of fact, a lot of people were there helping me out, doing any translation if somebody didn't understand something. Actually, one of the times I was waiting outside Chivo Pets for the Uber, he was almost there. On the map, you can see he's almost there, and then he just disappears, and he cancels the ride. It goes to somebody else. They ask a question. I write back. They cancel the ride. Like, holy cow. And finally, the guy who, like the 6th driver who's going to pick me up, finally, looks like he's there on the map, and then all of a sudden the map does this weird thing. He's looping around. I was like, oh my gosh. And then my phone rings. He's calling me, and the security guard at Chivo Pets was beside me, and I could not make out what this guy was saying on the phone. I'm like, hablas inglés? Like, he was talking so fast. And so the other guy, the security guard, takes the phone and he says, no, in Spanish, that we're outside Chivo Pets, this is where you have to go and you have to go around. And anyway, it took him 15 more minutes to come around. But I mean, the security guard, he was so nice to, be able to talk to the guy and let him know where I was at to come pick me up. I'd already been like waiting for like a half an hour to get picked up by the other 6 Ubers that never bothered to show up. That's the only thing I can say about Uber is that when you negotiate, they're going to come get you. They can change their mind anytime they like and just not come to get you. And you've already waited for the time. I actually had one guy, he asked me a question. I can't remember what it was, something, and I wrote him back. And he looked like he was coming, and then he pulled up a side street, and then he was like stuck there. And I'm like, why? He was on his way here. Why did he pull off on the side street? And he never came. I kept texting him, are you coming to get us? Like, you're not moving. So I wasn't sure because one time I had to cancel an Uber Actually, technically, I don't even know if I canceled the Uber. He showed up. His car was very small. I had groceries and I had 2 kids and me. He said he couldn't fit us and he drove away, and I ended up paying a cancellation fee. I'm like, but I didn't cancel. He came with too small a car. And I mean, maybe it wasn't too small a car. I don't know. We had 2 water jugs with us. Maybe we could have fit in. He didn't even try. But I had to pay like $1.91 for his effort to come and get me, and he didn't even pick me up. So I was a little afraid to cancel these Ubers when they're supposedly on their way. But there is an option on the Uber cancellation. It says the driver isn't getting any closer. So that's what I picked, and I didn't get charged a cancellation fee. But I just find it really annoying when they say they're going to come get you and you're waiting, and then they just cancel at the last minute. But it's not a dangerous thing. It's not to do with safety or security. It's just a really big annoyance. So adjusting to the language. So one thing about Uber, the one good thing I could say about Uber is our last Uber driver I had coming back from Chivo Pets, he actually spoke English. He's the second driver I've had who spoke English. So we had a great conversation on the way home. And I asked him about the fireworks and if he thought that they would be in our complex, which of course I did find out later on they would be, but he thought maybe they were at the mall, the Metro Centro nearby. And we just had a really good talk about everything. I am at day 871 on Duolingo. So I've been doing this for a little while. My eldest son is also doing Duolingo. And what we're doing as part of our homeschooling is after we do our Bible study in the morning, then we do a Spanish lesson. And I'm using the Spanish tutor on YouTube for that lesson. So we've done several of his videos. And then I'll often ask the kids questions or quizzes. And on Fridays, we were doing Fun Day Fridays, and we had a whole bunch of Spanish vocabulary to learn for that Fun Day Friday. And then the kids, I didn't mention this in one of my other videos, but the kids do homeschooling on Khan Academy. So we do the Bible study, we do the Spanish lesson, then they have 4 subjects. So they have math and English and science, and my boys have history and my daughter has reading. So it's about 3 hours of schooling that they do each day. But that will change in January because one of my kids' friends that's in this neighborhood goes to a school nearby, and I asked him about the school, and it's all the grades, so it would be for all my kids. He gave me the principal's phone number, and I talked to the principal. He said the only thing I had to do was get their report cards authenticated at the Department of Education. So I went down to the Department of Education last Friday around 2 o'clock. They close at 3:30, only to find out that the guy who does these has decided for the month of December he's going to start work at 5:30 in the morning and be done at 1. So we got there after he'd already left. And I did not get there this week. So we'll do that probably the first week of January. We'll get the report cards authenticated. I thought they had to be apostilled. That's not what he said, and they can't do that there. So I'm hoping that's all we have to do, because to get them apostilled is perhaps $50 each at the Canadian Embassy again. And then I asked him, what do we do after that? He said, we go to the school, we register them. So I told him there's no Spanish. These kids have no Spanish, really, none to speak of. He said, that's not a problem. So my kids will be immersed in the language in a public school in El Salvador at the end of January, beginning of February, whenever the school year starts. So that's going to be exciting for them because they're going to learn Spanish way faster. And maybe I'll try to get a private tutor or go to there's a Academy de Europa. It's in the Pasatiempo Mall, and I know they do language there, so maybe I could get my Spanish done there, or my husband, or we'll try to make a bigger effort on learning the language through some formal training. So under the infrastructure and utilities, one person had asked me about our internet connection. Now, we don't even have the best internet connection, but it's a very good internet connection. When the kids are doing homeschooling, all 3 of them are on their laptops online on Khan Academy, and GJ's on his laptop doing his thing, and I'm on my laptop usually doing YouTube stuff. And sometimes we have also phones going at the same time, looking up stuff or whatever. We have no issue with the connection here for our internet. Actually, in Canada, we had Starlink, which was the best connection we could have where we were in the country. And that was sketchy. I worked remotely and things would hang on me all the time. And with my husband, it was just him and I on at the same time. The kids were in school, but we were like fighting for internet sometimes. So I find the connection here is actually better than what we had in Canada. But we didn't live in the city in Canada. We also don't have the best package here. If you want a better package, you could also get something even better. But if you want to come here to work remotely, that is not an issue at all because we are online all the time and we have no issues. Now, the highway where we live, the Pan America Highway here, they call it Los Chorros Highway because it goes to the Los Chorros waterfalls. Well, that highway has been under construction probably for years and probably will be for years. It is a highway where you have the highways here and the mountains are like this. And when we moved here, our friend told us this is the most dangerous highway. He said because where the mountains are, the landslides onto the road. So they are like cutting away at the mountains, making the road wider. And I noticed the last week when I was out is that they don't use like asphalt like we do in Canada with a steamroller going over and flattening it all out. No, they actually do them in squares like a concrete sidewalk, and it's made out of concrete. And they were doing it by hand from what I'd seen anyway. I think they had a cement truck dumping the cement down and they were troweling it out by hand. So apparently it's a lot stronger and lasts longer, especially since we're not really worried about frost here and that kind of stuff. But there's earthquakes and other things, ground tremors, that you have to make sure that the highway stays stable. This is why it probably takes a little bit longer to do things, but then it's done really well. But they actually had quite a few extra lanes already made from when I was out last week. So if they start opening these things up soon, it could help the traffic here, because here the traffic can be very bad because of this construction going on. Like I said, it's going to take probably another couple of years, because it's about 16 kilometers from where we are to Santa Tecla. And I don't know how many more kilometers down the road that they're working on this highway, but it's a very manually intense process. They're also, like digging the side of the mountain out at the same time to widen the road, and they got to haul all that dirt away. So there's many different activities going on at the same time, not just repaving a road. That's the last thing they're doing. They have to make the space for the road first. And some parts of it looks like it's sort of down a cliff. So I don't know if they're going to put dirt there to raise that up, and there's houses there. So I don't know what they're doing with the people. They're relocating them. I don't know what's happening exactly. It's underway. It's looking really good. It will be done eventually. So it's not like they're not trying to improve the country they are. Now, we just saw a video from Bukele a week or two ago that the highway out to San Miguel area, I don't know if it's a new highway or it's just been redone, but that is all brand new, looking really snazzy. Now, I also found out that a private company from Turkey has bought the two ports, the one where our shipping container is, which is called Akahutla, and the other port, La Union, which is where that other highway is. So we're thinking maybe because the Turkish company came in to buy these ports, they want good transportation from the ports inland, that's why this highway's now been redone. Maybe. It's good for business. It's good for the country, right? It helps to bring money to the country. So reflecting on our journey, well, another month has flown by very fast, and our shipping container is still not here. Now, I actually think in the last video I said that the shipping container was here. So the shipping container is technically in the country, or just outside of it because in the water. But the container we thought was actually going to be delivered this week, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, now it's Friday. The container has not showed up. And we actually have a plan to get the container over to the side of our complex, have a moving truck with some guys, unload the container there, drive it to our house, which is, 100 feet away, and then do that several times to unload the actual container. So we talked to the administration here last weekend. They were all okay with that. And I thought it would be here this week. Unfortunately, because that Turkish company has taken over that port, it has delayed everything. So I don't know. Maybe it'll be here next week. I will do a lot of videos on the whole shipping container process, but I want to make sure that we have our stuff here safe and sound before I give anyone any advice whatsoever, because if we did something wrong, I'm going to tell you we did something wrong, and this is how you don't do that mistake, right? There is no perfect country, but El Salvador is perfect for us. And when people send me all the pictures or videos of how much snow has fallen in Canada right now, I just sit back in my chair, look out my open door, the greenery and sunshine. I sip my iced coffee, and I think to myself, those bananas in the backyard should be ready to pick soon, and they can keep all the snow to themselves. Thank you for joining us on this journey. I will be doing these monthly updates every month now around the 20th of the month, so stay tuned for those. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. I also have a join button if you will feel like contributing to us, but don't feel obligated at all to do that. And if you have any questions at all, please put them in the comments, because I do read every comment and I do try to answer them either in the comment or in the next video. And we'll see you on the next one.
Don't forget to hit the like button.